A commercial passenger airline's #1 commodity is the seats on their planes. While some seats might need to remain unfilled for performance reasons on certain flights, airlines want to fill every seat on every departure with a fare-paying passenger. This desire has even led to the practice of overbooking, with carriers betting on enough no-shows and missed connections to balance things out. But as counterintuitive as it may be, major airlines will fly sectors without any passengers, and it might even happen daily. There are many reasons for this, and if you're into aviation, you'll probably know some of these reasons, but some are lesser known than others. Today's video will discuss why airlines fly empty and all the considerations that come with this practice. Let's get started. A unique component of flying a completely empty flight for the pilots is that the flight deck door can remain open, in accordance with company policy, of course. Since no passengers are on board, there's no reason to close and lock the door unless it cannot be hinged and held open properly. On flights with only flight attendants or other cleared personnel, such as non-working pilots or dispatchers, the flight deck door can remain open since everyone in the back has flight deck authorization. Ferry flights with only the pilots and no flight attendants require the pilots to do the cabin security checks that would normally be completed by the cabin crew. This includes ensuring all the required emergency equipment is in place, doors are properly closed and armed, and galley carts are stowed and locked. Pilots rarely perform these tasks, and there are stories of pilots forgetting to lock a galley cart in place. At some point immediately after liftoff, a crash will be heard in the back as the cart spills its contents. One of the more common reasons that an airline will fly an empty flight is to reposition the plane for various reasons. Perhaps a jet broke down at an outstation, aviation speak for a non-hub airport. Most likely, a reserve crew would fly an empty plane out to that airport to pick up the passengers and perhaps the pilots who were supposed to catch a ride on the now broken plane. The reserve crew who flew the empty aircraft to the outstation might also stay the night and fly the downed plane back to a hub the following day after maintenance has resolved the issue. Though airlines tend to have extensive maintenance facilities at their hubs, some maintenance, repair and overhaul for longer maintenance projects takes place off-site. For example, American Airlines has a massive maintenance facility in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and British Airways operates a subsidiary maintenance operation in Cardiff. Any Boeing 777 flying between Dallas and Tulsa or London and Cardiff is almost certainly en route to or from maintenance. A pivotal piece of some airlines' business model is private charter services. In the US, this is commonly done on behalf of baseball, basketball, hockey and football franchises, which have year-to-year contracts with airlines to transport them for an entire season. Baseball, basketball and hockey teams tend to fly on Boeing 757s with a business-heavy configuration, while American football teams use Boeing 767s, 777s, Dreamliners, or A330s. Football teams have also been known to buy their planes, the New England Patriots and Arizona Cardinals, for example. Alternatively, they might use the services of Atlas Air and other cargo primary companies. Thus, with these private charter services, to get the planes in position to fly sports teams, airlines usually need to fly an empty sector to the city where they'll meet the team. It will then reposition to a hub or another city where another team needs transportation. These special repositioning flights aren't marketed to the public, but certain airline employees can list the flights. Though it's rare to find a ferry sector of this nature, it's a cool experience to fly in an empty plane. Yet another reason behind an empty flight is a maintenance test flight. Not to be confused with a flight meant to reposition a plane to a maintenance station, a maintenance test flight is a regulatory mission meant to prove the plane's airworthiness after a critical component has been worked on. Suppose a plane had a new air data system component installed after an unreliable airspeed event. A test flight would be required after the maintenance is performed to prove the system's functionality and redundancy. The same is true after working on pressurization systems, flight controls, angle of attack sensors, and other essential components. Extensive maintenance facilities are required to carry out aircraft maintenance operations. A maintenance test flight is always flown by a two-pilot crew, or more if required, and overseen by a certified mechanic. The pilots perform whatever maneuvers are needed on the return-to-service test provided by maintenance. A plane can only be returned to revenue service after this flight has been done and the mechanic has signed off the work. During the pandemic, we also saw the rise of ghost flights. These were empty or at least near-empty planes taking off to satisfy requirements of slot-controlled airports, which often have a use-it-or-lose-it stipulation. With tight travel restrictions in place, airlines were squeezed on both sides, unable to fill their planes, but also needing to operate a minimum number of flights to hold on to precious slots at major airports. Thankfully, with the rebound in travel, ghost flights have largely disappeared. And one final reason that a plane might fly without revenue passengers is during a proving flight. When an airline receives delivery of a new type, they must prove that they can fly it in regular revenue service before the plane is officially added to their operator's certificate. This means the airline has to plan and dispatch the aircraft on routes it's scheduled to fly when it enters service, and the cabin crew has to perform their duties from safety checks to meal preparation. This process is used to iron out any wrinkles and unforeseen operational issues before an airline welcomes passengers. For example, Hawaiian Airlines has been operating proving flights with their Boeing 787 Dreamliner in advance of the wide-body entering service with the carrier. From a pilot's perspective, the incredibly good takeoff performance is one of the most remarkable aspects of operating a flight without passengers. After setting thrust, the plane reaches its rotation speed remarkably fast, not to mention V1, VR and V2 are much lower because of the reduced weight. The plane climbs like a rocket off the runway, and it's possible to see vertical speeds over 5,000 feet per minute on the initial climb, depending on the type. It's not a pure joyride, though. Indeed, pilots actually consider this reduced weight a threat because it can easily lead to flap overspeeds or altitude exceedances. Pilots often describe the plane in this configuration as climbing like a homesick angel. For pilots, flying empty flights isn't typical for line holders. Empty flights tend to be flown by reserve pilots because such flights appear on the schedule with little notice and tend not to be built into the regular schedule. The challenges of flying empty planes for pilots are ensuring that all the required equipment is in place, that the doors and carts are secured properly, and that the plane doesn't exceed any limits on the initial climb out. With all of those challenges taken into consideration, flying without passengers is an excellent and rare experience for airline pilots, showcasing an empty airliner's monumental performance capabilities. What's the emptiest flight you've been on? Share your thoughts by leaving a comment. Simple Flying publishes over 150 articles every week. If you're looking for the latest aviation news and insights, visit simpleflying.com.